For millennia, humanity has grappled with one of the most profound questions imaginable. Does God exist? This inquiry transcends cultures, epochs, and personal beliefs, touching the very core of our understanding of reality and our place within it. It is a question that has inspired art, philosophy, science, and faith, shaping civilizations and individual lives. Today, we embark on an intellectual journey to explore some of the most prominent philosophical and logical arguments put forth for the existence of a divine being. Our purpose is not to definitively prove or disprove, but rather to understand the intellectual frameworks and the compelling reasoning that underpin these enduring discussions. We aim to foster critical thought and open dialogue. Before delving into specific arguments, it is crucial to establish a working definition of God for the scope of this discussion. The concept of God is incredibly diverse across religions and philosophical traditions, ranging from impersonal forces to anthropomorphic deities. This diversity presents a significant challenge. For our exploration, we will generally refer to God in the classical philosophical sense, an omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent, and supremely benevolent creator of the universe. This definition provides a common ground for evaluating the arguments we will consider, allowing for a focused and coherent analysis. One of the oldest and most widely discussed arguments is the cosmological argument, which posits that the universe must have a cause. The argument from contingency, famously articulated by Gottfried Leibniz, suggests that everything that exists contingently, meaning it could have not existed, requires an explanation for its existence. The universe itself, being contingent, must therefore have a sufficient reason for its being. The Kalam cosmological argument, championed by thinkers like Al-Ghazali and William Lane Craig, focuses on the universe's beginning. It asserts that if the universe began to exist, it must have had a cause. This argument is built upon two key premises that invite careful consideration. The first premise states that whatever begins to exist has a cause. This principle is deeply ingrained in our understanding of causality and the natural world. The second premise asserts that the universe began to exist, drawing support from modern cosmology, particularly the Big Bang theory. From these, the conclusion follows that the universe has a cause, which is identified as God. However, the cosmological argument faces various criticisms. Skeptics question the necessity of a cause for the universe, proposing the possibility of an infinite regress of causes, or even a self-caused universe. The nature of the proposed first cause also raises questions, as does the applicability of classical causality to the quantum realm. Next, we turn to the teleological argument, often called the argument from design, which infers a designer from the apparent order and purpose in the universe. William Paley's classic watchmaker analogy illustrates this beautifully. If one finds a complex watch, its intricate mechanisms immediately suggest an intelligent designer, not random chance. Similarly, the universe's complexity points to a divine architect. A modern iteration of this argument highlights the fine-tuning of the universe. The fundamental physical constants and initial conditions of the universe appear to be precisely calibrated for the existence of life. Even slight deviations in these values would render the universe inhospitable to any form of complex existence, suggesting deliberate design. Another facet of the design argument is Michael Behe's concept of irreducible complexity. He argues that certain biological systems are composed of multiple interacting parts, where the removal of any one part causes the entire system to cease functioning. Such systems, he contends, could not have arisen through gradual step-by-step evolutionary processes, implying intelligent design. Despite its intuitive appeal, the teleological argument has its critics. Charles Darwin's theory of evolution by natural selection offers a powerful alternative explanation for biological complexity without recourse to a designer. The multiverse theory suggests that our universe is just one of many, and we simply happen to inhabit a life-permitting one. The problem of evil also challenges the notion of a benevolent designer. The ontological argument takes a different approach, attempting to prove God's existence from the very concept of God itself. St. Anselm of Canterbury famously formulated this argument, defining God as that than which nothing greater can be conceived. He reasoned that if such a being exists only in the mind, then a greater being could be conceived, one that exists both in the mind and in reality. Therefore, God must exist in reality. René Descartes offered his own version, arguing that existence is a perfection. Since God is defined as a supremely perfect being, God must possess all perfections, including existence. Therefore, God necessarily exists. This argument relies on the idea that existence is an inherent attribute of God's nature. However, the ontological argument has faced significant philosophical pushback. Gaunilo of Marmoutier famously countered Anselm with the perfect island analogy, demonstrating that one could conceive of a perfect island, but this does not mean it actually exists. Immanuel Kant later argued that existence is not a predicate or a property that can be added to a concept. It merely indicates that a concept is instantiated in reality. The moral argument posits that the existence of objective moral values and duties points to a divine source. Many philosophers argue that certain moral truths, such as murder is wrong, are not merely subjective preferences or cultural constructs, but objective realities that apply universally. These objective moral values require a foundation beyond human convention. Proponents of the moral argument contend that God provides the ultimate ground for these objective moral values. Without a transcendent, absolute standard, morality risks collapsing into relativism or mere social agreement. God's nature, as perfectly good, serves as the ultimate source and guarantor of moral law. Critics of the moral argument offer alternative explanations for morality. Evolutionary ethics suggests that moral behaviors developed as adaptive strategies for social cohesion and survival. Secular humanism proposes that morality can be grounded in human reason, empathy, and the pursuit of well-being without needing a divine command. The Euthyphro dilemma also questions whether something is good because God wills it, or if God wills it because it is good. The argument from religious experience suggests that direct personal encounters with the divine provide evidence for God's existence. Throughout history and across cultures, countless individuals have reported profound spiritual experiences, feelings of divine presence, or miraculous interventions. These experiences are often transformative and deeply meaningful to those who undergo them. These experiences are often described as self-authenticating, providing a direct apprehension of God that transcends rational argument. For many, such encounters are more convincing than any logical proof, offering a personal certainty of God's reality. They are seen as empirical data points, albeit of a subjective nature. However, the argument from religious experience is challenged by its subjective nature. Critics point out that such experiences are not publicly verifiable and can be interpreted in various ways, including psychological, neurological, or cultural explanations. The diversity of religious experiences, sometimes contradictory, also raises questions about their objective validity. The argument from miracles posits that events that defy natural laws attributed to divine intervention serve as evidence for God's existence. Accounts of miracles are found in religious texts and contemporary reports, often involving healings, resurrections, or other extraordinary phenomena that cannot be explained by scientific understanding. These events are presented as direct demonstrations of God's power and active involvement in the world. If a miracle truly occurs, it implies a supernatural agent capable of suspending or altering the natural order, thereby providing a strong case for a divine being. The very definition of a miracle relies on its inexplicable nature within naturalistic frameworks. Skeptics, however, often question the reliability of miracle accounts, citing issues of eyewitness testimony, misinterpretation, or the possibility of unknown, natural explanations. David Hume famously argued against the rationality of believing in miracles, stating that the evidence for the uniformity of nature always outweighs the evidence for a violation of it. The problem of distinguishing genuine miracles from mere anomalies or hoaxes also persists. The argument from consciousness and mind suggests that the existence of subjective experience, self-awareness, and intentionality cannot be fully explained by purely physical processes. The hard problem of consciousness refers to the difficulty of explaining why and how physical processes give rise to subjective experience. This gap, some argue, points to a non-physical divine origin. Proponents contend that if consciousness is not merely an emergent property of matter, then it requires a transcendent source. The existence of a mind that can reason, create, and experience meaning is seen as a reflection of a greater, ultimate mind. This argument often draws parallels between human consciousness and a divine consciousness. Critics of this argument propose that consciousness is indeed an emergent property of complex neural networks, or that our current scientific understanding is simply incomplete. Materialist perspectives seek to explain consciousness entirely within the framework of physical laws, without needing to invoke a supernatural explanation. The argument also faces the challenge of defining the precise link between a divine mind and human consciousness. The argument from reason posits that the very capacity for rational thought and logical inference in humans points to a rational ground for existence. If the universe were purely the result of random, unguided processes, it is argued, then our ability to discern truth and reason logically would be undermined. Our reason would be merely a product of irrational forces. C.S. Lewis, among others, suggested that if our thoughts are merely the byproducts of physical processes, then they have no more claim to truth than the sound of a stomach rumble. For reason to be trustworthy, it must ultimately derive from a rational source. This implies a cosmic rationality which is identified with God. However, this argument is countered by evolutionary explanations for reason. It is argued that the capacity for reason and logic evolved because it conferred a survival advantage, allowing organisms to navigate their environment effectively. Therefore, reason can be understood as a natural development within a naturalistic framework, without requiring a divine origin. The argument from beauty and aesthetic experience suggests that the existence of profound beauty in the world and our capacity to appreciate it points to a divine creator. The awe-inspiring grandeur of a sunset, the intricate patterns of a snowflake, or the emotional power of music often evoke a sense of transcendence that seems to go beyond mere biological utility. This argument posits that beauty is not simply a subjective preference, but reflects an objective quality of reality instilled by a divine artist. Our innate appreciation for beauty is seen as a connection to a higher aesthetic order, a glimpse into the mind of a creator who values harmony and splendor. It suggests a universe designed not just for survival, but for wonder. Critics, however, argue that our perception of beauty is largely subjective, shaped by culture, personal experience, and evolutionary psychology. Evolutionary explanations suggest that our appreciation for certain patterns or landscapes might be linked to environments that were historically beneficial for survival. The argument also struggles to define objective beauty and its necessary link to a divine being. The argument from desire, particularly the desire for ultimate fulfillment or transcendence, is another compelling line of reasoning. C.S. Lewis famously articulated this, suggesting that if we find in ourselves a desire that no experience in this world can satisfy, the most probable explanation is that we were made for another world. This deep longing for something beyond the finite points to a transcendent reality. This argument posits that our innate yearning for perfect joy, meaning, and an eternal existence is not a delusion, but a clue to our true nature and destiny. Just as hunger points to food and thirst to water, this ultimate desire points to an ultimate satisfier, which is God. It suggests that our deepest aspirations are divinely implanted. Skeptics often interpret these desires as psychological constructs, products of wishful thinking, or evolutionary mechanisms designed to motivate us towards goals. They argue that the existence of a desire does not automatically guarantee the existence of its object. Furthermore, the argument faces the challenge of demonstrating that these desires are truly universal and cannot be satisfied by worldly means. The argument from the meaning of life suggests that without God, life ultimately lacks objective meaning or purpose. If the universe is merely a cosmic accident and our existence is finite, then any meaning we ascribe to life is ultimately subjective and illusory. God, as the creator and ultimate end, provides an objective framework for meaning. Proponents argue that God's existence imbues life with inherent value and purpose, offering a grand narrative that transcends individual lives. Our actions, choices, and suffering gain significance within a divine plan, providing a foundation for hope and ultimate justice. This perspective offers a coherent worldview where existence is not absurd. Critics contend that meaning can be found and created within a purely secular framework. Humanists argue that individuals can forge their own meaning through relationships, contributions to society, and the pursuit of knowledge and happiness, independent of any divine decree. The absence of objective meaning does not necessarily imply the absence of all meaning, but rather a shift in its source. The argument from the unreasonable effectiveness of mathematics in the natural sciences highlights the profound and often mysterious correspondence between abstract mathematical concepts and the physical world. Eugene Wigner famously noted how mathematical structures, developed purely by human reason, so accurately describe and predict natural phenomena. This suggests a deep underlying order. This argument posits that the universe is not only governed by laws, but these laws are expressible in elegant mathematical forms, implying a rational and intelligent mind behind creation. The universe seems to be written in the language of mathematics, suggesting a cosmic mathematician. This points to a designer who ordered reality with mathematical precision. Skeptics and naturalists argue that mathematics is simply the language we use to describe the patterns and regularities we observe in the universe. Our mathematical models are effective because they reflect the inherent structure of reality, which arose through natural processes. The effectiveness of mathematics is seen as a testament to human ingenuity and the universe's discoverable order, rather than a direct proof of God. Finally, we consider the cumulative case argument, which suggests that while no single argument for God's existence may be entirely conclusive on its own, their combined weight creates a powerful cumulative case. This approach views the arguments not as independent proofs, but as converging lines of evidence that, when taken together, make the existence of God highly probable. This argument emphasizes that the universe's beginning, its fine-tuning, the existence of objective morality, the phenomenon of consciousness, and the human yearning for transcendence all point in a consistent direction. Each argument, even with its criticisms, contributes to a broader picture that suggests a divine architect. It is about the synergy of evidence. Critics of the cumulative case argument maintain that combining individually flawed arguments does not necessarily create a stronger one. If each argument has significant weaknesses, simply adding them together does not eliminate those weaknesses. They argue that a chain is only as strong as its weakest link, and if each link is weak, the whole chain remains so. In conclusion, our exploration has traversed a landscape of profound intellectual inquiry, examining various arguments for God's existence. From the universe's origins and intricate design to the mysteries of morality, consciousness, and human desire, these arguments invite us to ponder the deepest questions about reality. Each argument, whether cosmological, teleological, ontological, or moral, offers a unique lens through which to view the world. We have seen that each argument, while compelling to some, also faces significant philosophical and scientific challenges. The purpose of this discussion was not to provide definitive answers, but to illuminate the rich intellectual tradition surrounding these questions. It is a testament to the enduring human quest for understanding, meaning, and ultimate truth. Whether you are a believer, a skeptic, or somewhere in between, engaging with these arguments enriches our understanding of ourselves and the cosmos. The conversation about the unseen architect continues, inviting each of us to reflect, question, and seek our own conclusions. This journey of inquiry is, in itself, a profound human endeavor.